is that a reasonable pronunciation? Thank you. International and founder of the A Spec consortium. George has been developing metadata standards for asset infrastructure for over 13 years. His vision was to create the possibility that collaboration amongst whole of industry is the basis of achieving change and developing a fit-for-purpose attitude. The A Spec consortium is realising that possibility. Outside work, George is involved in the community through his participation as assistant coach of the Australian men's basketball team for players with an intellectual disability. And this year they're preparing for a global games competition in Ecuador in September, so good luck with that. Hayden is Manager of Strategic Asset Management Planning at Wellington City. Hayden manages the strategic planning and investment analytics across its $6.5 billion portfolio at Wellington City Council. Building infrastructure management, enabled asset management and facilities management operations are one of a suite of key foundation stones for Wellington City's future. They see building information management as the next generation data management tool to manage the whole of life of an asset and the benefit opportunity information management can realise. Hayden's interest in public assets have also extended into a PhD, which he is currently undertaking at Victoria University School of Government. His interest extending into how local government makes decisions on large capital investments. So good afternoon to you both.
Right. Cool. So George and I presented this a couple of years ago. So just for context, I think everything you're going to see we've built in the last 2 years, and we'll talk about kind of how we did that. But the first thing I want to show you is the end. So this is what we can do now. I'll just walk through some stuff, and thanks Mel for putting the video together for me. So we live in a very digital world, and anything that we do is digitally based, and all of our asset management practices in and around the city, whether it be water, wastewater and stormwater, must absolutely link in. This is a bit of a flyover of the city, and it's very, really important for us that we have a really good understanding of space, as well as what our assets are, as well as how much things cost. And I guess to understand that and to get that capability and interoperability, you need to do a whole lot of things. First most important point for us is the balance sheet. What do things cost in the future, and where, and when, and what's it plugged into? There's some analytics running in the background there that show the forward liability of every single pipe, every single material on the pipe, exactly where and when the probability of failure is going to happen in the city for the next 100 years. It's really important to start looking at things like criticality, what's it plugged into, what else is going on in and around that space, and I'll show you some other things a little bit later. But listen to our pipes, but also our roads, curbs and channels. It doesn't really matter what it is actually. So geospatial information and how we manage our city is really important. But I guess the plug for you guys is really around spending more time with the engineers, spend more time with the finance guys, because you need the three things. You need space, cost, and the asset in our space. And I was actually really interested in some of the socially constructed stuff that was being done around liquor licensing laws. I thought it was really cool this morning. Some other stuff that we're doing is around bin modelling. Space in a house is really important, because if you've got a, I don't know, we've got Berkeley Dala, which has got nearly 200 social housing units in one block. You want to try and find that fire extinguisher in that block. It's really important you know where it is. So we're actually able to push Revit models, metadata savvy Revit models, straight from a drawing, an electronic drawing, into our asset management systems and see what the forward liability on the whole asset is, for the next 100 years. It means we can do some sensitivity and scenario analysis around what kind of materials to use and things like that. But it's all spatially savvy. It's really important we understand understand not only what it is, but also where it is. More recently, we've been able to push that information from our asset management systems after condition assessments back into the models, so people can use handhelds to wander around so they can see where things are and where they're going to fix them. Again, all really spatially savvy. Some recent stuff, we've just published our pipe data over the, out with the guys at Eagle to enable us with augmented reality, with a company called AugView, we can wander around the streets and see the pipes in the ground. You can imagine for things like emergencies where buildings are sitting on top of roads, it doesn't matter. The guys who start to use this in the field can't believe their luck. So these tools, these spatial tools are really important. Some analytics here, we've got Bluetooth sensors around the city, and we can tell you how long it's going to get from A to B. In this instance, it's from airport to AAT to Key on Thursdays for the whole month of November. That red line that's coming through this area here is the overpass that's causing all the drama at the moment down LA. But you can really see where your congestion points are, so you can start thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to manage your networks. Again, spatially savvy. We've got CCTV cameras. We know how to digitally count the mode of type of traffic movement around the city, whether it be a car, a bus, a bike. Because when you start throwing traffic movements into the algorithms that determine the longevity or life of the pavements, buses have a huge different impact than bikes or people or anything else like this. Really important for us in the future. We know what the capacity of our pipes are in the networks, so we can understand where and what suburb we can grow for minimum cost. Because we know where the economic headroom is still left in the networks that we can put more people into for nothing. And the opportunity cost for that for Wellington over the next 30 years, which is the 30-year infrastructure plan we just built, is literally billions of dollars. So being smart with data that is spatially savvy is really important. So that's what we can do. The question is, how do we do it? What do we do? So there's a bit of a driver here. When I first started Wellington, this is pretty much common for New Zealand Inc. and local government. Things are getting less and less sustainable, less and less affordable. Things are a bit tight. So we've got to find another way. I don't think anybody in the room who works for local government would disagree with that. Primarily possibly being driven in the first instance by our three waters, our water, our wastewater and stormwater under the ground. We basically put our infrastructure in the ground after the Second World War, in a big dollop, if you like, and then we put it in again with the baby boomers. So we had two large investment packets, if you like, of through those periods of time. The challenge we've got, and those who know about infrastructure in the room will know that the asbestos concrete pipes, which we put in the ground back in those days, was kind of landing at about the same time as the stuff from the earlier investment. So we've got some real challenges around getting a double hit. So that's posing a real challenge. And what really is the problem is that the investments of the past don't really have a lot to do with the CPI, which is often how people describe what they think the rate should be. What that's got to do with the pricing of the model, we're not going to let it bring up with what should, but politically it's very challenging. So we basically built a, for want of a better word, business case to try and unpack all of the things that we knew about our assets and put it back together again, so we could do some reasonably sophisticated analytics that was geospatially savvy, that enabled us to deal with that reasonably significant problem. And this is kind of what we said we were going to do a couple of years ago. So all those things we couldn't do 2 years ago, we can do now. So it's based on three pillars. Foundations are based on three pillars. The first one, George was the first person that helped us do this. We needed metadata standards for assets that we describe the same way every single time. So you can imagine if you've got a suite of information and it's all different, even within the business, trying to put that into some sort of analytics is just impossible, and it was impossible. The second thing we need is we need somewhere to configure our systems to those metadata standards for us to enable us to collect the data in a common and coherent and cogent way. The third thing you need to actually run the foundation, to run the information, is obviously the analytics to enable you to do the kind of stuff you just did there. Here's the problem. When we put it all in the systems, in our metadata savvy way now, nothing lined up. It's all over the shop. What you really need is a really sweet spot where metadata is configured to the systems, it's the same as the attributes and the algorithms, so you can actually manage your business properly. And let me be really clear, managing infrastructure, local government or anywhere is a big business. There's a couple of other points here, and this is where you guys really come to the fore. Is that and the thing I've just described sits right in the middle here. But no less important is the money, no less important is the engineering decisions, but no less important is about where it is. I tried to make that point at the start. That's the model for evidence-based decision making we use in Wellington City with all that fancy stuff we just saw. So this is where it gets really interesting. So we set it up in orders. We've got all sorts of standards. We've actually got GI standards, you guys are quite lucky. Technical standards, design, build, local international standard, ISO this and so on and so forth. But no one had metadata standards. It was a bit odd from cabinet manufacturing, it's a bit odd, actually. On the other side, we've got all sorts of models. Condition models, resilience models, capacity, demand. Everyone's got a financial model. But no one has any statistical models that tell you whether what you've got in front of you is actually worth anything. So I found that really interesting. So we have, excuse the phrase for a second, stochasticity models that underpin our probabilistic and deterministic models to allow us to actually understand whether we've got any confidence in anything. So if you can do it for water, so the problem is that two most fundamental building blocks from where I come from in manufacturing, we don't have. Simple wrong. So the reality was we built this in our water space. If you do it for water, why can't you do it for transport assets, buildings, and parks and gardens, and so on and so forth? Well, the reality is you can. So that's our platform, if you like. But here's the next question. If we can do it, why would we not do it with any different than probability next door? Or for that matter, any council in New Zealand. And this is where Minister English and a couple of folk at Treasury got a bit interesting. If local government are managing, let's say, roads, and our partner is NCTA, why would we be doing anything different than the guys who are managing roads alongside us in a different organisation? That goes for the 2,500 social housing houses we have in our portfolio in Wellington City. Why would we be doing anything any different than Housing Corp New Zealand? Well, the answer is we shouldn't be. We are, but we shouldn't be. And there's a whole lot of questions after that. Is the corrugated iron roof hypothetically any different really on one of my social housing houses within Wellington City versus a social housing house in Auckland within Housing Corp New Zealand, within a classroom in Kaitaia within the Education Minister's portfolio? The answer is no. So if you're managing stuff really well and it's all on the same data sets, the same algorithm, the same analytics, you can do a whole lot of stuff together immediately. So, just very quickly, before I introduce George, there's 5 principles we've used. Always do whole of life. It's really important. Short-termism is a word that people academics throw around. Don't make decisions for tomorrow, make it for the whole of life. Whole of life costs, and be aware of those sorts of things. Always maximise value. Always apply integrated solutions. Must have evidence-based decisions. Treasury are really hot on this, as you should all be, to be honest. And lastly, measure benefits. Actually measure the benefit of the thing. I think you guys in the sector struggle a little bit with this, spatially. You guys really help me do what I do, sort of as a sector, as a discipline. I think the challenge that you guys have is that you need to plug into something. You know, guys like me with assets, for example. That's where the real benefit for you guys is actually having partners to demonstrate the benefits of things like infrastructure or policy or whatever it might be. So I think we need to do some more work in that space collectively. And yeah, I'm keen to do a little bit more of that. So, turning back the clock a little bit, and I wrote there first things first, there's no point doing this by yourself. So this is where George is going to come and talk about a roading sector initiative that we basically fell out of that directly. So